entertainmentbuddha.com.
Welcome to the Graveyard, hideaway of the kooks, subculture elitists, and the disenfranchised substance of losers. Those who in general don't mix well with others. This is a Deadly Class podcast. Welcome to the Graveyard, Deadly Class podcast here on the Entertainment Buddha Podcast Network. Joining me, as always, is my pal, Ray Pareca. Ray, how's it going?
It's going well, man. We're back for another week. We got lots to talk about. How's it going for you?
Good, man. We were chatting real quick beforehand about how we both enjoyed these episodes here, so I'm kind of anxious to talk about both episodes 5 and 6. Last time we talked, we were anxious to get to Vegas and go on that trippy trip that the kids went on. So, ready to dive into it, man.
Yeah, I think last time we spoke, we both kind of lamented that the show, despite still being really good, felt kind of slow or stagnating. But I think what difference, I guess, 2 weeks can make, because the 2 episodes we'll be talking about today, man, they are full throttle. Is really the only way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. So just to kind of remind everyone that's listening here, basically Ray and I's schedule here, we're doing an every other week podcast here, so we'll be discussing 2 episodes. This week it's episodes 5 and 6 from the first season of Deadly Class. This 5th episode, man, it's the one where they go to Vegas. It's the one where Billy has a plan to take care of his dad. And not in the he's getting old, I gotta watch after him kind of way, but in the he's gotta go kind of way. And having us both read the comic, where you both knew coming up that this was probably going to be one of the best episodes of the season, or had the potential for that. So just kind of your first reaction. What did you think overall? Was it great? Was it okay? Or what was your reaction to that episode?
You know what? The best way I could sum it up is that I think the second scene of the episode is them driving with Our House playing over the radio. And I think that is the bold, stylistic sort of guideline that the rest of the episode starts to follow, and then it unspools from there. And it's such a good episode on so many different levels. It has a little bit of everything and a lot of some things, which I think is very exciting. What about you? What stood out to you?
I mean, the entire from the moment they meet the Deadheads. So just kind of a quick recap here. This is the episode where they go to Vegas. Billy has a plan in place with Marcus to basically kill Billy's dad. Now, as far as everyone else is concerned, it's a trip to Vegas. It's hasn't been
it's just
known.
like spring break to them. It's
exactly. Hilarious. Yeah, exactly. They just got done getting attacked by a bunch of Saya's cousins. They're like, you know what, we need a break. We need a weekend. So they decide to load up on some acid, some drugs, a little coke, and take a trip out to Vegas. And Marcus, being the self-proclaimed acid king, goes a little bit overboard, and basically spends the whole entire episode tripping out. I loved how they were able to display the effects that he was feeling, the paranoia, the heads, the shifting of the faces. The cop gets bigger as Marcus gets smaller. The shift from human to almost like a claymation or cartoon characters into an identical representation of Marcus in the comic book itself. That whole entire portion of the episode I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I would say of the 40 minutes of this episode, say 15 to 20 of them are pretty much portraying Marcus's insane acid trip. I think that acid trip and all the different styles of animation and illustration and weird effects like you just talked about, I feel like that's probably one of my favorite drug trip kind of things I've ever seen in, you know, any medium.
Mm-hmm.
It's so jarring, and like you said, it captures this sense of paranoia from a kid who's probably like one bad hit of acid, definitely not 7 bad hits of acid away from like a psychotic break. And it just, you know, there's neon acid clowns and moving skins and stuff, and it just does so much for the episode. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And then you throw in just the lights of Vegas themselves. I mean, those are trippy enough with, you know, when you're sober.
Yeah, that's right. You see the rest of the gang who is on more acceptable levels of drugs, I guess, just like, you know, tongues out like dogs as they're driving down the strip. It's a fun episode that obviously has some seriously dark undertones to it. I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, but they make drugs seem very dangerous, which I guess is good for all the kids out there watching. Do not do that many drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially after Marcus's first run in, you know, the first deadhead he meets, which I thought was hilarious. That it's just a caravan of Grateful Dead fans.
Just chilling,
just hanging out, and so obviously the first one that Marcus gets it's bunk. It's not good. It's garbage, and obviously he loses his money, and then he gets an opportunity from another hippie to try his, and he thinks he's tricking him again, and lo and behold, these are not bunk. They are very, very active. Tabs.
Of the hippie drug scene or buying scenes, there are 2 things that really stood out to me during that. And the first is that the single best quote of the show so far comes from Willie when he's kind of like saying he and his mother talk shit on hippies. And he says, I think the quote is, "Ain't nobody tossing devil sticks in the hood," which is like, I don't know why, but I had headphones on when I was watching the episode on my laptop, and I just burst out laughing. The way he delivers it, and just I'm pretty sure he's correct that nobody is, you know, knocking those devil sticks around. The other thing that really stood out to me is that, you know, you and I talk a lot about how these are characters that are assassins, but they're also kids and teenagers or whatever, and I really think that there's no better example of that they're still just teenager thing than Marcus taking, you know, 7 hits of acid from a strange hippie just to kind of prove a point to Saya and the rest of him that like, yeah, I got burned earlier today, but like, I'm not a bitch, you know? And that's the kind of thing I feel like we've all done as kids or teenagers, of like, to save face, overcompensate in the most grossly unnecessary method. And certainly Marcus's behavior is above and beyond what anyone should do, but it's like very much a teenage flex that I related to, despite not having ever been in that kind of situation. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, you know, when they first get to I don't know, the commune or the bar or wherever it is these hippies are gathering, I don't know what you want to call it, but Saya's like, you know what, just give me your money. Marie and I will take care of getting the score. We're going to handle everything. Mark's like, you know, I can do this. Like, I can handle myself. Right, exactly. and then lo and behold, you know, that first hit, it's bad, and he loses, you know, $100 or $200 or so. And then of course Saya realizes what happens, and he's got to try and, you know, like you said, defend himself there, kind of show himself or show them that he can take care of himself in that regard. You know, obviously he tries to go up to the bar to get a beer. That doesn't work. And then the magical hippie stops by, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to take all 7 of these, because why not? Because I'm a stupid teenager. Like, that's what it is. So, it and especially too, you get the feeling that it's, you know, they're very legitimate tabs. Is the hippie just starts kind of like, gets wide-eyed and goes, whoa, good luck, man, and then he like runs off. Like,
yeah, if you were ever in that situation and the hippie is like stressed out at what you've just done, you've probably made a dire mistake.
Yeah, and then, you know, 30 seconds later, Marcus is under the car and the mountains are coming after him.
Of the mountains.
Then that leads, I was going to time it, and I didn't. I was going to see how long the whole trip lasted, because it obviously lasts till, basically till the end of the episode when he finally comes down.
Yeah, I mean, from that moment until, I guess driving in the car back home is, I guess he's just like tripping balls that whole time,
Yeah.
And he goes through some serious emotional and physical stuff while under the influence, which either says a lot about him or a little about everyone else, because he rolls with some crazy punches over the course of the episode while on all those drugs.
Yeah, certainly. And while all this is happening, while they're traveling to Vegas, there's a mysterious car following them, and lo and behold, it's Big Bad Chico hot on their tail.
Yeah.
He knows something's up. So,
yeah, he's following like 10 feet behind them.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah, it's like, just turn around, guys. Maybe you'd recognize your classmate.
Just use the mirror once.
Yeah,
once.
True. Stupid kids.
Yeah, so as they get into Vegas, then obviously they're enamored by the machines and the lights and the sounds of the casino. Billy and Marcus get to their hotel room. At this point too, this is when Billy's like, all right, this is happening. We're gonna kill my dad. He's in the room next door.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. He's trying to psych himself up, and Marcus is just sitting on the bed asking him the same question like 10 different times.
Yeah.
You can kind of see Billy getting a little impatient, but
Mm-hmm.
He's Billy, so he's not going to get mad at at his friend.
Yeah, and you can't. We say it's like kind of our theme at this point, but I feel like you can't help but root for Billy. Earlier in the episode, before they get into that hotel, he kind of discusses with Marcus, I think it is, like his motives behind wanting to take his father out, and it's deeply personal, and he kind of discusses how he'd rather kill his father than risk having a family member, being his younger brother, have to join King's Dominion. And I thought that was very interesting, that that speaks to, this is probably the only place that he's ever fit in the world, but he would rather murder a family member than have a family member have to go through what he goes through. So it's like, it almost seems like he's the only one who's like kind of aware of the stakes or the world that they're playing in on some level, which makes him pacing in the hotel room while his Mark, which is his own father, is the next door over. Like, this is a pretty gnarly situation, and I think it only makes sense that we sort of start to see him fraying a little bit as he deals with the acid king before having to go do some serious wet work.
Yeah, definitely. And Billy's got the circle jerks cut off shirt on again, so you know something's about to go down. I feel like I think the other episode he wore that was when they had that crazy house party, if I remember correctly, back in like episode
possibly
2 or 3 or something like that. But
yeah.
I feel like that's Billy's, like, people have like power ties. That's his like power shirt.
Okay, yeah.
That's why. That's why
Maria
like,
puts on her, her red dress and does the face paint when she's ready to throw down. Billy just puts on a ratty circle jerks tank top, and I really respect that about him.
I dig it. Yeah. And that whole scene, Billy trying to psych himself up for what's about to come, and he still has the marks and the bruises and the scars on his face from the last time his dad beat him.
I forgot that's only been like a couple of days, I guess.
Yeah, because it's when Billy comes back to King's and decides, you know what, we're gonna go on this trip. We're gonna kill my dad. So he's still showing battle scars from their last meeting, and I understand they're kids. What I don't understand is how Billy trusts Marcus to help him out, with Marcus being in the state that he's in.
Yeah, and I agree, and I guess that's where some of that frustration and anxiety comes from during that. It's because up until this point, like, Marcus is the killer maybe of the group, and that, like, he seems like everyone knows, like, he'll take a life. He doesn't seem to have regrets, be that the front he puts on or not. So you kind of rely on this person to be like, all right, we're doing this together. I can trust you. And then to see him, the person that you're kind of banking on helping you out here, just to be, staring at the TV or seeing some like Leave It to Beaver ass flashbacks and stuff. That would terrify me. I would be calling that thing. I wouldn't be trying to kill anyone, first of all, but I would definitely call it off if I was in that position. Otherwise, or maybe just like, let's be real. You know where your dad lives. Just do it at your house when the family's away, maybe. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, the boys go for it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, what we see is Marcus kind of fall back on the bed. He's smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden he hears noises, and it's obviously a scuffle in the room next door. You hear things crashing, people hitting the wall, and he doesn't run over. He goes over extremely slow. I'm like, Marcus, like, Billy needs your help, man. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, right.
Wake up. And he gets over there and sees Billy, trying to choke out his dad. Is slamming against the mirror, kicking him, punching him. Then finally Marcus intervenes. They kind of go back and forth a little bit. Marcus gives Billy's dad a kick. He trips over Billy on the floor, cracks his head against an end table, and one of the gruesome ways to go, I guess. And
that's like my least favorite way people die in things, is when you like hear them crack their head on stuff. And that whole sequence is, it's fast, a lot happens, and it's brutal. And you see Billy kind of, after, when it's all said and done, like kind of standing over his father as like blood's pooling up, and he kind of has a breakdown. And it's a tough minute or two there, like as these kids sort of grapple with like, oh shit, like we just did that. Like, they're being trained to be killers, but I don't think many of them are emotionally prepared for the reality of their lives, and we're seeing that more often as the show progresses.
And I was about to say the same thing there. You see Billy kind of start to cry, and you at first you think, oh, he regrets what he just did, like he wished he wouldn't have done that. But then he starts kind of questioning his dead father, like, why couldn't you be better? Why couldn't you be just a little bit nicer? And almost you get the feeling that his father was basically asking for it by the way he was treating Billy. Like, Billy had no other option at this point. And finally, as Billy's there crying and kind of wailing a little bit, Marcus gathers his senses to the best that he can, I guess, and it's like, hey man, it was me. I did it. I killed him. Kind of trying to take some of the pressure off of Billy, off some of the blame off of Billy. But he's like, we made a lot of noise. We gotta do something about the body. So he at least has that wherewithal at that point in time to be there for his friend. To help him out of the situation they got themselves into. Yeah,
and it's kind of a testament to, as we said, like how much happens, that the guy's killing someone is literally the first of a trio of very unfortunate events that occur in this show. So they end up dealing with that, and then we start to see some more freakouts. We see an Ice-T cameo, which I thought was interesting.
I have that written in my notes. Ice-T pays out Marcus at the casino.
Yeah. Also bold move to commit a murder, or whatever it is. I don't know if that's technically a murder by pushing someone or something, but whatever. It's definitely a murder. Let me go on record and actually take that back. That was murder. That was stupid of me to argue against. But to do that and then just like kind of be like, oh yeah, I am in a casino. Like, let me let the drugs pull me towards that.
Well, what I want to know is, what did they do with the body?
Dude, I don't know.
Because it's not like they could just kind of carry it out the front door. And...
yeah, like nothing to see here, folks. Just like Weekend at Bernie's him.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, and the whole episode too, at least up to this point, it's a little bit of a flashback, because the beginning starts with Marcus in a police station with a cop looking at his fake ID. Marcus is looking at his hands. They're bloody. No matter how much he rubs his hands on his pants, the blood doesn't come off. So honestly, you think, oh, now Bill, they killed Billy's father. The blood on Marcus's hand is from carrying him, away, or from cleaning up, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is there. And he's got what we learned to be as a vision of Master Lin in Vegas with them.
Yeah.
And Marcus is like, how does he know? How does he know? And obviously, it's just Marcus's paranoia catching up with him.
Yeah, he has Marcus has a bit of a Lady Macbeth thing going on this episode, dealing with. But I guess the combination of drugs and guilt is a wicked combo. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and we see that in the one of the cartoon tripping scenes where it's just a quick glimpse of Marcus hitting Rory. The homeless guy that he killed earlier in the season.
Yeah.
He crashed him in the head with a pipe. We see that, and we catch a glimpse of Marcus's mother saying, life is not a dress rehearsal, Marcus, and he kind of cries out to her. So he's dealing with the pain of what he's lost and what he's done as well. But then as he's in the casino, kind of walking around there, he realized that the blood really isn't on his hands. So, I mean, to me, that's kind of almost, I guess, like a metaphor or so. He had bloody hands, now they're not bloody. Was it his fault for Billy's dad? Was it his fault for Rory and what happened? And that's something that obviously earlier in the season with Rory's death, Marcus had to deal with that. He had nightmares and dreams about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is we say it often still, but this is a kid who's got a lot of shit on his plate, and I think I struggle with like guilt over eating like a second donut and feel bad about it for like the rest of the day. So I could not imagine the sheer guilt and distress that Marcus's every waking moment is, especially stemming back through his past trauma, which finally kind of catches up with him in this casino nonetheless too, I think. Yeah, he finally Chester, his old pal from the boys' home, finally catches up with him. We just see like a familiar mullet from behind as Marcus is getting into an elevator.
We see the hand with the ring stop the elevator. We recognize the mullet. Marcus is busy paranoid trying to figure out what sort of elevator etiquette he should have. And instead Chester turns around and reveals himself to Marcus after pulling the emergency stop there. And it's a sort of thing where we know he's there, but Marcus, we're not 100% sure Marcus knows he's there, because after Master Lin, Marcus thought he was there and then he wasn't. Is Chester really there for Marcus?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
But so Chester, basically he's mad at Marcus for taking his credit. We don't know the full story yet. It's kind of unfolding as to what happened in the boys' home. All this time the police were after Marcus for burning it down and for killing all those people and those kids, and it's kind of coming across that maybe it was actually Chester that did this, and he wants to be on the news. He wants to be, he basically wants to be infamous. He wants people to know his name and his face because of the bad things he's done. So it seems he's got some weird things going on inside his head.
Yeah, and that to me that makes him like so terrifying. Like, the idea, he obviously has a vendetta against Marcus. He wants to kill Marcus, but then the notion of him saying basically like, I don't want to kill you right now because I want to figure out how to get a book deal and be on TV, and how do I basically, to use a modern word, be like, how do I turn myself into a brand before I kill you in a spectacular fashion so I can become what he perceives, I assume, Marcus to be.
Right.
So I kind of, I assume at the very least that he like kind of thinks that Marcus has a bigger reputation perhaps than he does for, whatever went down in the orphanage. But it's a very scary thing to have someone like corner you and be like, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you now. Like, it wouldn't be the right moment.
He had the knife blade right on Marcus's forehead. All it would have taken was one quick stroke, because Marcus wasn't about to defend himself. He was too shocked and basically paralyzed with fear as to who just stepped back into his life.
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine the, I guess, 6 hours the kids had at this point, and that's just not even the tip of the iceberg. Like, come on, so much is happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that interaction, Chester kind of gives him a, I'll see you later, Marcus. I'll be around. I'll be watching.
I know, he like so casually just like pisses off. He's a bad dude, and I don't have any love for him, but damn, that was a pretty cool way to just be like, all right, see you, dude. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and completely scared and worried, Marcus runs up to Maria's room, bangs on her door. She lets him in. They basically have this little chat about fear and about pain, and he sees her passport. She talks about wanting to run away from Chico. They both basically start to hook up, and clothes start flying off, and next thing you know, door creaks open, Chico's standing there. Yeah. Probably
how long do you think he was standing there for? Like
I don't know, but it didn't take long for him to start shooting, that's for sure.
No, yeah. He, as one might expect, has some choice words for both Marcus and Maria in that situation, and then pretty much escalates from, dude, what are you doing with my girlfriend, to, all right, time to die. And what follows is a chase sequence that felt kind of like a Michael Mann movie to me. I was just like, people are bursting through things, and guns. Not much for discretion at this point, really.
No.
Yeah, Chico's just like firing rounds off like at cars and shit. He's pissed.
And that's the one thing that I didn't quite get either. So he's in a school for assassins. He grew up basically in the cartel.
Yeah,
and he was literally 4 or 5 feet away from Marcus in the bedroom and couldn't hit him.
Yeah, I mean,
like, he's a terrible shot.
But ironically,
how are you such a terrible shot at that, Chico?
Ironically, and we'll talk about this when we discuss the 6th episode, we see that as a kid, he is a crack shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
that's what I don't get. So I don't know if it was just rage and he just literally couldn't focus.
Yeah.
Or if he just was, maybe subconsciously, without realizing, he didn't really actually want to kill anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like, come on, Chico, like, you gotta, if you're pulling the trigger and you're that close, like, you're gonna at least nick him. You're gonna get something.
Yeah. What are you, Billy? Like, or not Billy, Willie? Sorry.
Yeah, Willie. Which Willie gets his chance, and basically, as you mentioned there, the chase scene takes them through the streets. They get into a convenience store, out into a back alley then, and basically everyone's there. Everyone's gathered. Everyone's trying to talk Chico down off the ledge. He's got Marcus beaten on the ground. He puts the gun on the ground, toying with Marcus, saying, fair fight, go get it. And it's one of those scenes where you see how crazy and messed up Chico is.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Willie there with the gun pointed right at him, and he's jawing at Willie. He says, "I heard some rumors about you. You're not. You get your boys to do all the work. You never pull the trigger." And Willie's like, "Get out of here! I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do it." Chico grabs Willie's hands with the gun and forces it against his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
I had it written down in my notes. Anytime that happens in a show or a movie, that's one of the biggest "I don't care if I die right now" moments. Like, the biggest adrenaline, like, grab the gun, shove it against your head, pull the trigger, and Willie can't do it, and Chico knows that Willie's not going to do it.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate like, calling the bluff thing, because it's either you're not going to do it, and that's what you were saying, or it's like, or you blow my head off and whatever, like, point still stands. Chico he's electric in this sequence, both when he's fighting Marcus in the grocery store, when he's kind of delivering his half monologue about Maria and Chico's family, and all of that, and calling Willie out. This is like, we talk about him a lot, and he's imposing and a scary dude, but like this is the first time I feel like he's really acting, or the person who portrays him is, and he does like a pretty manic, exciting job. It's a good few minutes of television.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of going back to that chasing real quick too. I watched it a second time around. The second time around, I had the subtitles on just to in case I missed anything word wise. And the song that came on, I don't know if you recognize it, was Dead Kennedys.
Oh yeah, in my notes it says when the Dead Kennedys kicks in. Expletive. Yeah. As soon as I heard like the first bass note from Holiday in Cambodia, I was like, oh man, it's about to get real in here.
Yeah, and it's a perfect song too, because one of the lyrics is, "It's time to taste what you most fear." Mm-hmm. And what's been Marcus's biggest fear since entering King's Dominion? Basically Chico.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they're finally squaring off. They had that little run in a couple times. Marcus's first day had a knife held to him. Marcus threw a punch, caught him off guard. But this is their first true, real fight, and it almost ended badly for Marcus. Going back to the alley where things came down to the wire. Chico's about ready to kill him. He stabs Billy in the gut, which Billy's just getting beat up again. He got beat up by his dad again while they were in the hotel room. Now he's just got stabbed by Chico. And, Maria, the person who in the next episode we'll find a little bit more about her history with Chico. She's the one. She takes out her fan, her knife bladed fan. I don't know what the technical term is for it, and just slices Chico right across the neck. And,
she cuts his throat.
Yeah, it's insane. It's a powerful image. Considering what, like I said, we find out in the next episode what they've been through beyond what we already knew. But, we know she wanted to get away from Chico. She was ready to leave the country. This is certainly not the first time she's tried to get away or wanted to get away. This is the first time she has been in a position to do it. Just, however, it comes at the cost of taking someone's life, which is, it's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah. It's
talking too about our boy Billy, him getting stabbed. One of the things I thought was so great, not great that he gets stabbed. Obviously, we love and respect Billy above everyone else, but it's like so affirming of him as kind of the heart of this group of people that. In a moment where everyone's kind of transfixed with Chico standing over Marcus's body, Billy, who has just, been through some serious stuff of his own, like not an hour earlier, he's like willing to go up and engage with Chico and try to talk him down off of this, off of murdering their classmate, basically. Like, Billy has a lot of rough edges, but this is like, he's the only one. He's the rat of the group, in addition to Marcus, obviously here. But like, he's willing to go and put himself on the line more than Saya or Willie is, I think, up until that point. That was pretty rad of him. I don't think Chico needed to stab him right in the guts. That was very not cool. But Billy's not an episode goes by where he's not like just getting like major check marks from you and I like cool guy alert, cool guy alert, cool guy alert, and that was probably his coolest moment yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like you said, he just went through a second beating by his dad, watching his dad die, disposing or covering up his dad's body, and then out in a street fight watching his new best friend get beat to crap and trying to step in. You're right. It says a lot for Billy's character, in and of itself.
And you know what I was also thinking? Where's Lex? I feel like Lex should be rolling with the gang.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. I thought there wasn't enough room in the car.
I guess, yeah, that's true. Like, you think Lex and Petra are just like sitting out in the graveyard by themselves? Like, it's kind of boring without everyone around, huh? Like,
yeah. Well, and going back to the previous episode, Victor and Petra were in the room. They were bleeding out. We're like, did they make it? Are they okay?
Yeah, that's true. I guess we don't really know from that perspective. That's
Right.
that's a really good point. I kind of forgot all about that.
Yeah, yeah, and the one thing I did want to mention too. So talking a little bit about Willie here, he's very I don't know if he's anti-drugs, but he's anti-acid. He said that stuff melts your brain, and I forget if it's Cy or Maria basically force a tab into his mouth there at the bar there. When Billy's at the casino poking around at the slot machine, and he starts talking to Billy, and he calls Billy Teddy Ruxpin. He's like, "Will you be my friend, Teddy Ruxpin?" He's like lifting Billy up, and Billy's just laughing. He goes, "I'm a human boy."
Yeah,
and it's just like Billy
really
doing
good.
that Billy humor.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fun moment for Willie, since he always tries to be so hard and cold. You don't really see him be vulnerable too much.
You do. You get like 12 seconds of him being like super warm and kind of funny there. That's a good point.
Yeah, so overall, that episode was pretty spectacular. And I did see a thing on, I guess, on Deadly Class's Twitter page. They kind of took a video of a bunch of the cast members asking them which episode of the season was their favorite, and majority of them said episode 5. So,
yeah, I mean, it's by far the most interesting and most entertaining, and probably like the most important that we have seen as well. So I'm with the class there, and that I think it's our best one.
Definitely. Well, anything else you wanted to cover with episode 5 there?
No, I mean we've really hit it. Like, everything from the different animation and illustration styles we see to the thematic elements and the action scenes. It's just like it's 44 minutes of just like nonstop interesting stuff. So no, we hit it all, man.
Cool. Well, let's hop over here to episode 6, the most recent one that just aired.
Stigmata Martyr.
Stigmata Martyr. Yeah. So basically, this episode takes place, I believe it's about a month or so after the trip to Vegas.
Yep.
I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of bathroom scenes in this one. A lot of bathroom shower scenes.
There are like half of the episode takes place in bathrooms, and you know what's interesting? Every time we see the hallways of this school, it's this like cool, dank underground place that like has some cool architecture to it, and it seems like kind of hallowed and revered. People go there, and it looks nice. The bathrooms just have like, they look like just they look like a dungeon. I don't get it. It's I would not want to take a dump down there. No.
Yeah. And it's, again, we've talked about this before. It's a reminder that these are kids, they're teenagers, they're basically in high school, albeit a completely odd and weird high school, but girls are sneaking into the guy's bathroom. Maria sneaks in as Marcus is coming out of the shower, and Billy walks in on him, and that whole interaction was just kind of funny reminder. And throughout the episode, Marcus is trying to figure out his relationship with Maria. They're basically dating now. She gives him a 1 month anniversary gift. He's like, "Oh, was I supposed to get you something?" She's like, "No, that's okay." And obviously Marcus has no idea what he's doing. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to get her gifts, supposed to do stuff. And that was just, again, another reminder that even though they just got done causing a ruckus in Vegas and murdering a fellow class student, that they're still high school kids who don't know what they're doing when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, and it seems like every character is on some level so ill-equipped to deal with the ramifications of everything that happens in Las Vegas. As you said, like it's a month later now. An investigation has been launched by Master Gao into what's got like Chico. Everyone knows is missing. People are whispering. There are rumors swirling. Marcus and Maria are dating in secret. They're trauma bonded. She's gone off the deep end, according to some people. Like, there's just like all these very high stakes in this gigantic secret that these kids have to keep in order to ensure not just that they stay in school, but like probably stay alive, because the cartel will come kill them if what happens in Vegas gets revealed. So like the stakes are insanely high, and there's so much pressure riding on them, but they are still kids, and like there's still time to make funny jokes, like Billy saying, all our asses are riding on Marcus's boner at one point, which I thought was like super, super snappy. Yeah. So it's interesting to see, like, last episode, we have the kids being kids until it's time for extreme violence. And now we have them have to deal with the extreme violence while still being kids. There's a lot here. It's a bit of a slower episode, but I think a very good one in that, like, we see consequence for the action we just got to witness the week before.
Yeah, definitely. And just another I had here in my notes too about Billy's involvement with Petra. Obviously, in this episode now we see Petra's okay, we see Victor's okay. Billy's plan is basically the plan that every high school boy had at one point when the girl he liked didn't like him back. He's just going to ignore her and try and hit on other people, and it never, ever, ever works.
And let's not forget that the other person in this situation is the super terrifying, like, hand-to-hand combat teacher, whose name escapes me at this moment.
Ms. DeLuca.
Yeah, she is an intimidating woman. Yeah, Billy dispenses some dating advice that is actually interesting. This week he says, with girls and Jesus, you just have to say whatever they want in the off chance it gets you into heaven, which is a very funny joke on so many, or observation, I guess, really on a few different levels, especially coming from this, like, scrawny, twitchy, mohawky punk rock kid who is definitely not religious, so that makes it all the more funny to me.
I mean, if there's one guy on the show that you're probably not going to take the most serious dating advice from, it's probably Billy.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of a great little tidbit.
Yeah, it really is, and it kind of wakes Marcus up a little bit, and as he's dealing with the consequences of Vegas, and getting into the world of dating with possibly
this is his first
the
girlfriend.
Hottest girl at King's Dominion, like, especially a girl who is now in charge of the investigation into Chico's disappearance by the Vatos leader. So she's trying to search for his killer without revealing that she was the one that killed him.
Yeah, and without mincing words, she is not handling this pressure well. She, as one might expect, from killing Chico, her longtime boyfriend, who is abusive and terrible to her, but they still, that was her pretty much partner throughout her life, as we understand it. Like, that is weighing on her heavily, and she's taken to drinking, and she's gone off of her medication. She has bipolar disorder, which adds just it's a difficult situation for this poor girl. What should have been the thing that frees her, that she wanted the most, having Chico out of her life, now has, like, put a target on her back, as well as the only friend she has in the world. Like, if they slip up, it's all over, and that would definitely make me start to drink heavily and listen to Spellbound and shit in my dorm room. That's another great musical moment when
music's been on point this year.
Yeah, it really has. Like, that album is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's music that I think Petra would listen to a bit more than Maria, as just a goth rock classic, but it ruled. Much like the Dead Kennedys note I had of just, like, what, when that kicks in, it's like, yeah, that I got legitimate chills. That was good, and that song sums up how one might expect her to feel. Yeah, dude, it's there's a lot going on at King's Dominion this week.
Yeah, and she's obviously, the fact that she's not taking her meds anymore. She's got extreme highs, extreme lows. Like you said, she's mixing in the alcohol, which obviously doesn't help. she has suspicions that Saya is trying to steal Marcus away from her.
Yeah.
To the point where Saya is trying to get Marcus to help Maria. And Maria decides, you know what, I'm going to shoot an arrow at Marcus, and I'm pretty sure Saya's going to catch it, which she did, fortunately.
Yeah, which the most like Mean Girls level flawed logic argument that you live and die by of like, no, she loves my boyfriend, so if I shoot an arrow at him, she will stop it, which means I hate her. Like,
right.
Yeah, she's coming undone. But that pretty quick reaction speed from Saya there. That was that was impressive.
Yeah. Definitely caught me a little off guard there. And Marcus chases her down, and finally they share their special moment. They consummate their 1 month relationship finally.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to do it on top of an old ratchet tomb? I guess that was. They have private rooms. Like, come on, get out of here.
It seems more like a Petra or Lex type of thing.
Yeah, like Petra definitely is down for that. That's what her all the nasty things she kind of alludes to. She's into that's what she's down for sure.
Yeah. And then we get going back to another bathroom scene here. We get the bullying of Shabnam by Victor. Shabnam kind of called Victor out in class. Victor got humiliated by
Dude,
Mr.
yeah,
Luca
he dunks. Shabnam
dunks,
gets Victor, like, he kind of dunks on him. That ruled. Yeah, I like this version of Shabnam a lot so far. I said that the first episode that it was a different take from the books, at least from what we've seen. I kind of like this one. He's not as smarmy. He's more like, I don't know, like he seems like a more normal person who just like is used to getting picked on. Yeah.
He feels like matter of fact, but not in a I'm gonna shove it in your face kind of way. And yeah, he's obviously getting beat down by Victor. He dunks on Victor, like you said there in class, after Mr. Luca, takes Victor to the ground a couple times, and Marcus comes in and sees Victor and his boys in their towels in the bathroom, in the showers. Marcus is judging without judging, I guess you could say. He's like hey man, if that's your thing, that's cool, it's fine. That whole scene was pretty interesting. And Victor's back to being, I would have thought maybe after their detention episode, Victor might have softened up a little bit.
One would think, right?
Yeah,
although Chico immediately after that decided to try and kill one of the people he was in detention with. So
that's
who
true.
knows? Yeah, they're all assholes at the end of the day. No, that I really enjoyed Marcus's like sort of logical takedown of Victor's penchant for bathroom related violence. That was very funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. And another scene I enjoyed as well was with Willie at the comic book store. So I was wondering if they were going to include this in the show, because in the book itself, Marcus and Willie do work at a comic book store kind of part-time, which seems weird that kids that are in a school for assassins can have part-time jobs outside of school, but
especially when so well connected to like organized crime, you would assume they don't need money ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Marcus and Willie are working, and real cute girl comes in, kind of starts flirting with Willie a little bit, asks about Superman comics, and he just completely shuts her down. Says Superman's a punk because he always lets Lex Luthor go, which is kind of saying something about Willie.
Projecting much Willie.
Yeah. And then Marcus is like, dude, what are you doing? Don't be an idiot. She's obviously hitting on you. He goes over, apologizes to her. She asks where the Alan Moore section is, which I thought was great. Proving that she's not just like completely oblivious to what comic books are. Like, she knows what's good. So those two kind of hit it off there. And, you actually see Willie open up a little bit. You see him smile, which you don't really see, Though I think the last time I saw him smile was when he was holding a gun to Marcus's face in the car in the first episode, and
Yeah, that scene starts in the comic shop scene starts like so dour and makes you want to punch Willie in the face, like with his
Yeah.
mopey personality, but it ends it gets like super wholesome, and there's a lot of like funny banter and between Willie and this girl who he's flirting with. It's good. It's like it's like a redeeming moment. I think he's starting to pull out of the depression or the anxiety and stress he's putting on himself, which is super important because he's got a lot to live up to right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have the reputation that he has without actually having the reputation that he has. I mean, him and Marcus are kind of in the same boat in that regard, I guess. There, but Marcus has actually, at the very least, he has actually killed someone, two people, if you want to count Billy's dad in there, to this point. But I mean, they all have that intense pressure on them. They were all interrogated early on by Madame Gao. One by one, none of them cracked, at least as far as we know, and what was revealed, none of them cracked. But she is intense, that Madame Gao.
Man, right?
She's rough.
There's a great moment. I want to say, I forget when it is in the episode. It's probably towards the beginning. I think Marcus pretty much bumps into Master Lin as he's walking with Master Gao, and Marcus kind of just like shuffles off, and Gao points out that like he didn't bow to you, and Lin brushes it off, blah blah blah, and then Gao says like these kids have tattoos and piercings and dyed hair, like pretty much like what the hell is going on in this school, and kind of alluding to the fact that Master Gao is perhaps the more conservative, like traditional values kind of headmaster type, compared to Lin, who up until that point we had no reason to think he was anything other than a hard ass old school, like do it the King's Dominion way kind of guy. But clearly he's got he's kind of the cool teacher, if you will. And are they related? Is Gao his sister? Is that okay?
Yeah, Gao's his sister. It's revealed a little bit later in that episode. But yeah, and going back to that interaction in the hallway there, the one thing Lin says to her in response to her questioning his lack of discipline with some of these things is, paraphrasing here, he basically says, I don't want to take away from the creativity of our future assassins.
That's the good takeaway. I totally forgot about that, because it kind of speaks to with Denki from a few episodes ago, like that was kind of Denki's whole angle that Lin seemingly was pushing against, but now perhaps it's suggesting that maybe Gao is the one pulling the policy string, and just Lin is sort of jammed up and has to play by rules he doesn't necessarily agree with all the time, I think.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out where she fits in regards to the school. Like, does he answer to her? Are they basically like co-headmasters, but he's more FaceTime with the students kind of thing, and she's behind the scenes? Like, that's what I'm still trying to figure out from the show so far. We don't really know a lot about her.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer. I part of me wants to think they're equals, but maybe she's like quote unquote administrative, while he, as you said, is like front facing and student engagement. But she also could just be like the queen of the world for all I know. But she seems to be taking a vested interest in certain students as well during this episode, as we see with our good friend, actually not our good friend, because you and I do not associate with members of the Dixie Mob, but we see Brandy. Brandy makes a return, and Brandy is someone who is a disgusting, hate-filled character that, like, her terrible ideology is very bad in both fiction and in the real world, but I cannot take my eyes off her when she's on screen, man. She is like this weird mix of confidence, and like ugly, harsh words and like one-liners that she's just like, man, she's one tough little son of a you know what, man, or daughter of a you know what. I guess she's electric and spooky and she could kick my ass, that's for sure.
Yeah, she that scene that you're referring to with her and Gao is basically Maria, Saya, and Brandy are in a courtyard type area, and they're kind of talking, and then all of a sudden they get attacked by some ninjas. They
just a normal Thursday first period.
Exactly. Yeah. They take a couple of them out. And then towards the end, Brandy actually pushes Maria aside and kicks Saya aside to take out a couple extra, 'cause she knows that's actually a class. And then Professor or Master Zane, the teacher, comes out and kind of gives his grades. He fails Brandy because she pushed aside her two partners, basically.
Yeah, he fails her for doing that, and also be like, also you're racist. Like,
right. Yeah. He calls her a POS, basically, and gives Saya an A, and Gao, having seen everything, steps up and says, you know what? Brandy actually deserves the A for that because she took down the most people.
Yeah, like
and when it comes down to it, that's what matters.
Yeah. Also, I do love her pom-pom claw thing. That is a weapon if I've ever seen one.
That was great. And then we actually see it a little bit closer a few scenes later, where she's in the self-defense classroom with Master Zane. He has not yet changed her grade. Gao comes in and basically stops the class, and they kind of throw a few punches at each other. You would think the guy teaching the class at this assassin school would be able to take on anybody. That's not the case. He basically gets his arm broken. Brandy pulls out one of her metal pom-pom claws, and Gao says, why don't you remind him what grade you should get? And right on the forehead, just a big old A.
Yeah, like scarlet lettered him.
Yeah. And then like, all right, she is not to be trifled with. That's for certain.
Yeah. Brandy Brandy she hates all of them, or anyone that's not, a member of her Dixie mob, but she seemed to be like totally fine dishing and gossiping with Maria and Saya earlier, which again is just like, I think, a testament to how interesting the beliefs and biases maybe of teenagers and people, but like also the innate need we all have to like socialize and have friends, where it's like, we talked about it, I think, during the detention episode, where it's like these people cannot stand one another but are willing to be friends for an afternoon or for a class or whatever when you got to pass the time. I thought that was really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, if you go back to one of either the first or second episode, Willie claims that he and Brandy knocked boots.
That's true. Yeah,
I mean, So and what Brandy was talking to Marie and Sai about at that scene too, she was talking about the detention episode. She was talking about how when they found the antidote, that Maria went to literally everybody else first before going to Chico.
Yeah.
So Brandy was like, I saw that. That's not a secret. Like, you obviously have something against Chico, obviously wanted something gone. So she's suspicious now, especially with Chico's disappearance.
Yeah, and the way she frames it is so like insidious, of like, no, I know you had nothing to do with Chico disappearing. Like, I know how much you love him. I know you love him because you were he was the last one you gave the antidote to. Like, it's so manipulative and evil and great. I hate that Brandy is one of my favorite characters because, as I said, like, diametrically opposed to her in theory, but goddamn, she is entertaining.
Yeah, she certainly is. And kind of moving along the episode a little bit here, I think one of my favorite parts of different episodes that have appeared throughout the season is when they do the flashbacks for different characters. We've seen the flashback for Marcus. We got one for Maria this time, and
this one is so sad.
It's so and I remember when I read it in the book too. I was like, man, that's so hard and tough. But basically what happens, and fill me in if I'm missing anything, but basically what happens is when Maria's younger, her father is accused of stealing from Chico's father, who goes by El Alma del Diablo, which is basically, someone who sold their soul to the devil.
Yeah, what a tough nickname to have.
Yeah. So he basically comes and says, you know what, you people have been calling me this behind my back. It's time for me to start acting like the name you've given me.
Well, let's not even forget the pretext of El Alma showing up is that Maria's family is just, having dinner or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And a little boy knocks on their door trying to sell tortillas to them, I believe. And basically that little boy is Chico as a child, who blows a hole through one of Maria's family members' chest, basically enacting vengeance and the gang storming in. But like, that's pretty brutal to send your 6-year-old kid to go do that. And again, ironically, Chico can hit that shot but can't hit Marcus in the previous episode.
Right, exactly. And then as Maria's father's being dragged out, we see a cross, and he gets the nails in the hand just like Christ, and Maria's about ready to die. She's thinking, this is it for me. And then Chico is basically like, oh no, actually I know her, she's smart, she could be useful. And then his father spares her life. Basically it's like, you're with me now, you're gonna do what I tell you now.
And I want to say, in terms of like that being such a harrowing sequence, is Chico's father, or El Alma, is like, I want to say he's like quoting the Bible as he's going on, or one of those crazy members of the cartel is like, which is very scary to me as someone who went to a Catholic school for the majority of my education career, to like have men quoting the Bible at me as they like brutalize my family and try to crucify me. But those are more my issues.
It's definitely a tough scene to watch for sure. Especially, there's a part where, young Maria is kind of crawling up to the cross and reaching up for her father. And, again, she's about ready to die until Chico saves her life, but he also ruined her life.
And the way he refers to her, like, as you said, like, as useful.
Right.
It's just like the implication of being like, that's a tool for us, Dad. And I think we understand that Chico chose those words very specifically to save her life, but damn, he also damned her. So it's tough to watch. She gets carried off with Chico and his father, and going back to the episode in Vegas where they're out in the alley right before she kills Chico. He reminds her, he said, "You'd be dead if it wasn't for me." And she goes, I already am dead. She basically comes clean about everything that she's been feeling over the last few weeks or so. Or I guess maybe for her the last few years, but more specifically the last few weeks and episodes that we've been watching. So now seeing what we've seen in her past and where she came from and how she, where she went, it's a little bit easier to understand some of the craziness that she's going through, and the pressure that's on her to find Chico's killer by his father, and trying to navigate that without getting herself and her friends killed. Yeah, I mean, she's in an impossible situation right now. It's wild. Also, too, going back to the flashback real quick, I just want to say how amazing it is at the translation of still comic book panels into fully animated television sequences, because oh my god, it's 1-to-1. It is insane how well those are scene, like moments of that scene are single panels of the book that are animated. It's freaky how good it is. And that's that is one of my favorite sequences in the comic series, because the colors are, those violent oranges and reds are just so evocative. And that sequence, the flashback, as tough as it is to watch in some regards, and like as violent as it is, like you cannot take your eyes off of it in this episode. It's really well done. It's just a shame that the cost it comes at.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously having Rick Remender as involved in the show as he is huge, and is what makes those scenes work so well, I think. So, as like you said, as tough as that was to watch, it was also beautifully done.
No, without a doubt.
Definitely a hard one to get through. Action wise, it was a little on the lighter side, like we had mentioned earlier, but this definitely helped build a lot of character development, especially for Maria, and as we see her and Marcus go forward, what's going to happen with them, what's going to happen with the cartel as they search for Chico's killer, and let's not forget about our old boy Chester here. He's still involved. I was gonna say, Marcus
gets
still in the hunt.
He gets a phone call this episode, and I think he says something great like, I don't know anyone. Like, who the hell would be calling?
Oh yeah, he's like, I don't have
who would
friends.
be calling a school for assassins? Granted, but Chester, he phones Marcus to kind of let him know he's still around, and basically to lay a trap, I think, is the best way to put it. Because in Vegas, after Maria kills Chico, they have to get the hell out of there, because that group of friends has now killed 2 people in about 2 hours, and they've really got to get the hell out of Vegas.
One of them's bleeding out.
Yes, that's true. One of them is dying in a car, pretty much. They have to leave Las Vegas real fast, and they have to leave Chico's body in that alleyway. And guess who found that body? Our good friend Chester. So basically, he calls to say, "Hey Marcus, I will let the cartel know what happened to Chico by sending a letter with his severed head to them if you don't come find me." So you want to talk about a bold gambit? That's about as tough as it gets there.
Yeah, and let's not forget too how sick Chester is. Not only did he cut off Chico's head and keep it on ice, the same ice bucket that's got a couple beers in it. But he's got Shadman's parents dressed up like dogs in dog cages feeding dog treats.
I think I blocked that out of my head until you just said it. That's a great point. Yeah, what a sicko.
Yeah, because I mean that's Marcus asked how he got the number for the school, because it's not like King's I can't imagine King's Dominion is just in the phone book.
Yeah, and if it is, they need to get out of the phone book. That would be stupid.
Yeah. So obviously he gets the information from Shadman's parents. Has his weird little fix with dogs, and just threatens Marcus, like you said, and basically sets a trap for him. He's got 48, 36 hours, something like that, to basically meet up with Chester, or Chester's going to send the head to the cartel and let them know who did it and where they can be found. So definitely let off at a cliffhanger. I'm real curious to see where the next episode's going to go, how much time it's going to cover within that episode, because obviously now Marx's top priority is no longer just trying to cover up Chico's death, but now prevent it from getting out by this deranged psycho that's been trailing him for a little bit now.
Yeah, it's I feel like the previous episode upped the ante, and this episode kind of called its bluff, in that don't worry, you ain't seen nothing yet. I think things are gonna make Vegas look like a wholesome family vacation sooner or later.
Well, and
which is scary to think about.
Yeah, and let's not forget too that earlier in this episode, Chester kills 2 people. He's got a camera set up in the alley, kills a pizza delivery guy, kills a woman on a bike who saw that, and then he opens up the video camera and there's no tape in it.
Yeah.
Obviously he wants this recorded because he wants, like you said earlier, the book deal, the notoriety that comes along with being a psycho killer. He's in the newspaper when he's on the phone with Marcus. He's got the newspaper with the headline about, his name spray painted on the wall, and he's starting to get the public's attention.
Yeah, he is one sick puppy, is what I have to say about that.
Yeah. I'm sure it's only going to get worse from here on out.
Yeah, well, who knows? We get to see Master Lin's what he's up to when school's closed too, which is kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah. We I forget exactly which episode it was, but we do see him talking to a woman in a home, but we don't know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
You just assume that Master Lin, being the kind of guy he is, that he probably doesn't have a family.
Well, he talks about like having lost his family, even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's real interesting to see this because he walks up the front steps. His wife goes, or I presume his wife, the woman goes, hi honey, how was work? And he goes, murder. And his
classic
little child
dad joke.
Jumps,
am I right?
jumps up into his arms. Yeah, exactly. So, between that reveal and the fact that Gao is his sibling, and they obviously have a troubled past with how they were raised in different capacities there. So, definitely curious to see a little bit more what happens with those threads.
Yeah, that was such like a seemingly sort of innocuous thing, but I feel like there's going to be some big ramifications because it looked like the woman who might be his wife had like the Yakuza tattoos similar to Saya, which that further complicates a whole different set of dynamics going on right now. Yeah, it's this is a very exciting moment to be in the season, I think. Presumably we've crossed the halfway mark of the season, and it's just so much is happening now, and I'm so nervous and excited. I'm excited
for what's coming next for sure.
Yeah, and I think the show's done a very good job at diverging from the series, like the comic series, in that I genuinely don't. I know like the plot beats they will probably hit. I think I don't really know what to expect. Like it seems like nothing's sacred. From the source material, and that's very exciting. It's very exciting from a storytelling standpoint, I think. Yeah,
definitely. So, any final thoughts with episode 5 or episode 6 for this week here?
Episode 5 MVP Billy. Episode 6 MVP Billy, and that's all I got to say about that.
All right. I think it was episode 6. There was a Descendants song playing too, which I liked.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was, but
it was halfway through the episode, I want to say.
Yeah. I need to compile a list of all the songs they've used on this so far and create a Spotify playlist or something like that. It's been phenomenal.
I've been thinking about that. It's like, dang, someone should just be curating a Spotify playlist off of their licensed soundtracks. Yeah, it's great. Music rules. Whoever the music supervisor is killing it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool, man. Well, so it'll be another 2 episodes till we're back again. So definitely check back with us. Hit up entertainmentbuddha.com. There'll be some more, just to promote the other podcasts that we do here and there. Is the Game of Thrones podcast. So as we inch closer to that, we start getting some more.
Yeah, Game of Thrones coming back footage soon.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that show to end.
I'm ready for it to end only because I want to see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I checked out on Game of Thrones, but I am so excited for that show to end for all of you guys.
Well, then you got the prequel to look forward to, right?
Oh, shut the hell up. That'd be like watching The Walking Dead in 2019 to me.
I feel like the prequel's not going to have quite the clout that the original has.
Is that going to be on HBO really as well?
Does, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But anyway, we'll myself, Matt, and Keith Mathias do a Game of Thrones podcast as news breaks on that. So check that out. Entertainmentbuddha.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay wholesome.